Our story begins with Soo-hee at the supermarket, where she spots a young man by chance. With just one glance, he steals her heart. The next day, Soo-hee wakes up and gets ready for her first day of high school. She meets her friend, Gi, who stayed up all night gathering information about their new school. On their way there, Soo-hee accidentally drops her wallet, which is found by the same young man from the supermarket, who happens to attend the same school. When they arrive late, their names are written in the tardy log. At the same time, another student shows up late and tries to avoid being logged. However, they spot his name on the books he's carrying and write it down too. His name is Chang, but when he tries to explain it's not his name, they think he's lying. Ga then tells Soo-hee that Chang is famous at school. In class, they learn that Chang is in class 1A, and it turns out the books belong to a boy named Korn. Meanwhile, Chang, the same boy Soo-hee saw at the supermarket, returns the wallet with Korn to the school office. When Soo-hee goes to collect it, she finds out it was handed in by Chang and Korn. She rushes out to see them, mistaking Chang for Korn, the boy who stole her heart. The next day, the students prepare for military training. Soo-hee is excited to see Korn, who is actually Chang again, though she doesn't know the truth. During training, students are required to hand in all electronic devices and snacks. Gi gets caught and is punished, with Korn laughing at her. However, Soo-hee thinks Korn is Chang, so he gets punished alongside Gi. Later, Soo-hee goes to the clinic to get medicine for Gi and finds it air-conditioned. She takes a moment to rest, pretending to be sick when a doctor arrives, but when the real doctor catches her, Soo-hee is forced to leave. She returns to Ga and learns that Gi managed to hide her phone. At the same time, Korn almost gets caught with his phone but quickly hides it. When he goes to a stairwell to hide, he finds Soo-hee there with her phone too. They walk back to the dorms together, and Soo-hee, still thinking his name is Korn, asks about his relationship with the real Korn. Chang explains they are childhood friends. Soo-hee offers to hide his phone for him, promising it's safe with her. The next day, during a singing competition, Soo-hee nervously volunteers to sing and says she wants to perform with Korn. When the real Korn steps up, she is shocked. The rain interrupts, giving her an excuse to escape her confusion. She later seeks out Chang to apologize for calling him by the wrong name all this time. That night, Soo-hee, Chang, and Korn are assigned night watch. Ga offers to fetch flashlights from the equipment room, encourages Soo-hee to spend some time talking to Chang. Meanwhile, Korn, terrified but determined not to show it, also goes to the equipment room. Soo-hee tries to strike up a conversation with Chang, but his responses are curt, as he's secretly scared. When Gi accidentally locks herself in the equipment room, she asks Korn for help, but not before teasing him a bit. After freeing her, Soo-hee worries about Gi being late, but Gi pretends to be fearless despite being terrified inside. As Soo-hee heads back, she feels something following her and starts crying in fear until Chang reveals himself, jokingly calling her Miss Brave. Together, they return to their post. After a while, their friend Van shows up with some hidden snacks he brought for everyone to share. They gather around and start talking about their childhood. Soo-hee learns that Chang spent his entire childhood studying because his parents didn't allow him any time for fun. His life revolved around studying, leaving him with no other choice. Just as they're enjoying themselves, the coach catches them and they're forced to run away. The next day, all the students gather, and the girls crowd around a handsome, sensitive guy who plays the guitar and piano. His name is Xian, and he's practically the crush of all the girls, including Gi. But Soo-hee, her heart is set on Chang alone. After the military training ends, they return to school. Soo-hee is worried that the school clubs might be canceled, which would mean she wouldn't see Chang as often. Gi points out that Soo-hee is obsessed with Chang, spending all her time looking at his pictures on her phone. She suggests Soo-hee take a step forward, like asking Korn, Chang's friend, about Chang's ideal type. Gi bribes Korn with her lunch to get the information, but learns that Korn doesn't actually know Chang's type. Annoyed, he jokingly says, "I'm not telling you." Gi returns to Soo-hee, saying the plan failed, but when Korn sees Soo-hee smiling at him, he assumes she's crushing on him because of his unmatched good looks. Korn later asks Chang about his ideal type. Uninterested in the topic, describes his dog instead, but without mentioning it's a dog. Soo-hee eventually learns about these qualities and starts randomly telling Chang how she embodies them. One time, she declares she'll run home because she's athletic and won't ride her bike anymore. But when she sees Chang taking the bus, she hops on, saying, "I'll be athletic another time, it doesn't matter now." On the bus, she bombards him with traits she claims they have in common. Chang recalls his conversation with Korn and pulls out his dog, telling Soo-hee, "When I described my type, I was talking about my dog. Back home, Soo-hee vents to Ji, saying she's been acting like a literal dog for days. Ji assures her, "Don't worry, we'll fix your image with him, it's not beyond repair." The next day, they learn the school clubs aren't canceled, and the students are thrilled. Everyone signs up for their preferred clubs. Soo-hee tries to convince Korn to persuade Chang to join the drama club with her instead of basketball. She promises Korn the phone number of the prettiest girl in class if he succeeds, and Korn eagerly agrees. Later, they all eat at a restaurant owned by their friend Fang's grandmother. Fang's grandma embarrasses him by sharing all his childhood mischief. On their way back, Soo-hee spots someone harassing a girl on the bus and loudly scolds the man, causing a scene until he leaves. When Chang asks if she was scared, she confidently replies, "I wasn't scared because you were with me." Her words leave Chang stunned. The next day, Korn registers for the drama club, only to discover Ji gave him her mom's number, pretending it was the prettiest girl's contact. The group later attends the first club meeting, where the club president turns out to be Ji's crush. She's beaming with joy, and Korn assumes she's happy because he joined the club with her. The next day, during the English exam results distribution, Sue informs the teacher that she hasn't received her grades yet. The teacher tells her that she got the highest score and that her paper was mistakenly sent to class 1. Chang comes across her paper and is surprised by her score. Sue approaches him to retrieve her paper and notices that he's struggling with English assignment. When she asks him about it, he admits that he finds English very difficult and that his grades are poor in the subject. Sue reassures him, saying, "That's okay. I'm not great at physics or math either. None of us are perfect." She encourages him, emphasizing that he's still a brilliant student overall. She also shares an easy method for studying English effectively. Around the same time, Chang's mom speaks with his teacher, who mentions that Chang is one of the top students in school but struggles a bit with English. His mom then comments that his younger brother Luli has better grades than him. Later, Chang talks to his mom, who constantly compares him to his brother and tells him she doesn't expect him to excel like Luke. The next day at school, Chang shows his English homework to the teacher, who points out several mistakes and suggests that Sue could tutor him. Sue agrees to help and explains the material to him in a simple way, which he finds easy to understand. Their teacher, Mr. Lin, walks in and praises Sue for her straightforward teaching style. He advises Chang to continue learning from her, but Chang feels embarrassed. Sue lightens the mood by suggesting they trade tutoring if he helps her with physics and math. The next day in class, Chang confidently answers a question and remarks that Sue's tutoring is already showing results, surprising the other student. One girl, who has a crush on Chang, becomes jealous upon hearing that Sue is tutoring. At the end of the day, Sue hands Chang some simplified notes she prepared for him and suggests they arrange more study sessions. However, Chang declines. Determined to convince him, Sue spends the next day following him around, boasting about her high English grades and how good she is at the subject. But he remains uninterested. Later, when Chang gets home, he finds his mom has invited Luli's tutor over. The tutor immediately starts talking about Luli's excellence, telling them he already has a private tutor who makes studying easy for him, then leaves the house. Sue sees him walking by while she's eating out and calls him to join her. When he refuses to eat, she insists and practically forces him to have a bite, which he secretly appreciates. On the way home, Chang finally asks Sue to tutor him in English. Overjoyed, she agrees, and they schedule sessions, with him also offering to tutor her in physics and math. Sue takes the opportunity to exchange phone numbers with. The next day, Chang waits for Sue and she shows up looking extra polished. She asks, "So, notice anything different?" He teases her, replying, "Yeah, you've got dark circles under your eyes." Undeterred, Sue begins their session, using her easy methods to explain the material. As they spend more time studying together, they grow closer. Sue starts greeting Chang whenever she sees him at school. During basketball practice, the coach tells Sue and Ji they need extra training because their skills are weak. Meanwhile, Sue is chatting with her friends, who mention seeing her and Chang studying together multiple times. At that moment, 3 senior students enter the court trying to cause trouble. Chang steps in and challenges them to a basketball match. He and his teammates win, forcing the seniors to apologize to Sue and even hand over their basketball. After that, they go to study together. Meanwhile, Genshin sits nearby, watching them with steam practically coming out of her ears from jealousy. Jia also watches Chan while he plays basketball, her face lighting up with a big smile. Korn, as usual, assumes she's staring at him because of his unmatched handsomeness. But when Jia suddenly stands up and cheers for Kian, Korn realizes the truth and feels like a total clown. Later, Korn asks Jia, "So all this time you've been looking at Chan?" She replies, "Yes! Every time you sit in front of me, I can't even see him because you block my view." Fang bursts out laughing at Korn for how ridiculous he looks. When Jia finds out Korn has been friends with Chan for a long time, she starts clinging to him, asking endless questions about Chan. Anytime she sees him with Qian, she rushes over and claims she's their friend too. As for Sue, after classes end, she stays behind to help their teacher with grading. Qian waits for her as usual since they've gotten into the habit of walking home together. When it starts raining heavily, he rushes off the bus to find her, and they walk back together. Along the way, she asks if he came back just for her. He denies it, saying, "Of course not. I forgot my notes and came back to get them." He adds, "Next time it rains and you don't have an umbrella, check the teacher's office." Sue responds with a smile. "If you're going to come back every time, I don't mind waiting in the rain." Embarrassed, he hurries off, his heart fluttering with newfound feeling. The next day at school during break, Sue buys a lot of snacks from the supermarket and leaves them in Qian's classroom with a note on them. However, Zhenshin sees her leaving and realizes what Sue was doing. Later, Zhenshin announces that the class donation envelope is missing and goes to report it to the teacher. She claims to have seen Sue leaving the classroom during break. The principal calls Sue in for question. Despite the teachers vouching for Sue's integrity and trustworthiness, the principal is suspicious due to Zhenshin's accusation. Zhenshin is determined to pin the blame on Sue, but Sue confidently denies any wrongdoing. She even suggests that Zhenshin should also be questioned since she was the last one in the classroom. When the principal asks Sue why she entered a class that wasn't hers, Qian intervenes, explaining that she came to leave his notebook and notes since she helps tutor him, as per the teacher's suggestion. He admits that he had asked Sue to keep their study sessions secret because he felt embarrassed as a Class 1 student needing help. This clears Sue's name, and the teachers apologize to her. However, Zhenshin insists Sue's innocence hasn't been fully proven. Mr. Lin shuts her down, stating that without evidence, she shouldn't accuse others or spread rumors about Sue in the school. Later, Sue tells her friends what happened and humorously imitates Zhenshin crying, which Qian overhears. Meanwhile, in Qian's class, Zhenshin continues to spread rumors about Sue being the one who stole the money, urging the other students to get back at her. This frustrates Qian to paper in anger and throws it away. The next day, Jia tells Sue she's busy and won't be able to go with her. Sue later spots Jia with Qian, Korn, and Fang. Curious, Sue follows them and discovers they're searching through the trash to find the missing donation envelope to prove her innocence. The following day, they decide to search the classroom. Qian notices how calm and detached Zhenshin is and questions her, asking why, as the one responsible for the money, she isn't actively helping. He then demands she search her belongings in front of everyone. They find the donation envelope hidden among her books. Zhenshin claims she didn't see it, but the truth becomes clear. It's publicly proven, and Qian insists Zhenshin apologize to in front of the entire school. He warns that if she doesn't, he'll report to the teachers and principal exactly where they found the money. She actually goes to apologize to Sue, but Sue tells her she doesn't accept her apology, explaining that apologizing doesn't erase the fact that she wronged her. The other students are impressed by Sue's confidence, and Chang grows even more fond of her. Later, the whole group gathers at Fang's grandmother's shop to eat together, solidifying their bond as a close-knit group of friends. Sue also finds out that Chang was the one who insisted Zhenshin search herself in front of everyone, although he denies it, claiming that everyone had requested it, not just him. They all agree to go to the amusement park together. At the end of the day, on their way home, Chang asks Sue why, if she could fake tears, she didn't cry in front of the teachers. She replies that she was confident in her innocence and didn't feel the need to gain their sympathy. She thanks him for standing up for her and making Zhenshin apologize. The next day, they all go to China's Dream Park and spend their time playing games and recording memories on camera, having a lot of fun. The day after that, exam results are announced. Sue checks Chang's results and is delighted to see that his English grades have improved. Meanwhile, Chang checks Sue's results in physical education. Sue asks him to wait for her after school, and he waits, even missing his bus for her. When she arrives, she gives him a stuffed bear as a gift, telling him to discover its surprise at home. At home, Chang finds a recording of Sue's voice inside the bear, encouraging him to study harder. Back at school, a sports competition is announced for the students. Chang signs up for the running. Afterwards, Sue is riding her bicycle when a stray dog crosses her path, causing her to fall and injure herself. Chang takes her to the hospital, where Jia visits her to check on her. At the hospital, they meet Chang's father, who is a doctor. Chang's father takes a liking, comparing her to his son, Korn, The doctor informs them that Sue has an injury to her leg and won't be able to participate in the school's sports competition. Chang takes Sue home and continues to look after her, bringing her medicine and promising to take her to school every day until she recovers. The next day, he carries her bag to her classroom, and the other students notice that the two have grown closer. Sue even pretends her leg still hurts, so Chang will keep escorting her to school and spending time with her. On the day of the competition, Sue volunteers to take photos since she can't participate. She cheers for one of her classmates, but when Chang sees this, she stops and rushes over to him. He teases her, saying, "So now you're feeling better and cheering loudly, huh?" Sue nervously explains that she was just cheering for someone from her class, but she realizes Chang is jealous. This makes her flustered, but she manages to calm down when other students gather around them. Later that night, Jia tells Sue that Jung Shin is running against her for the role of Cinderella in the school play. The next day, Sue wins by a large number of votes and is cast as Cinderella. She goes to confirm that Chung voted for her and not Jen Shin. When she thanks him, he lies and says he didn't vote for her, but Sue catches him lying when she notices he's holding his neck, a habit of his when he's not telling the truth. Sue asks Chung to rehearse the play with her as the prince. He agrees, but sets a condition. If she scores 90 or above on the physical education test he prepared for her, he'll practice with her. Sue studies hard all night and takes the test at his house the next day. To her surprise, Mr. Lin, Chung's uncle, oversees the test. She scores 85 and feels disappointed, but Chung adds 10 points to her score, saying it's a reward for her hard work. The following day, the whole group gathers at Fang's house to rehearse for the play. Fang's grandmother watches them, and they all laugh and enjoy themselves. One day after school, Chang offers Sue a ride home. On the way, they stop to watch the sunset together. After some time, the day of that play arrives, but Qian is unable to attend due to an accident that lands him in the hospital. The group scrambles to find a replacement, and the only option is Chung, as he attended the rehearsals. Reluctantly, he is convinced to take on the role of the prince. The play is performed successfully, and everyone is impressed with their performance. After the play, Sue and Chung take photos together. Following the play, Sue becomes quite popular, and many boys start admiring her. Chung's jealousy becomes evident. At the end of the day, Sue tells Chung that she has kept her distance from all the boys. "Why are you telling me this all of a sudden?" She replies that she just wanted him to know. It becomes clear that their feelings for each other are mutual, though neither of them admits it out loud. The next day, they visit the aquarium together, spending time admiring the exhibits. At the end of their visit, they receive couple medals shaped like fish. Sometime later, news spreads about the imminent end of the world due to sudden climate changes. This becomes the main topic of discussion among the students. Meanwhile, preparations begin for an inter-school competition, and Sue gets ready for the trip. She's excited since it's her first trip with Chung. However, the next morning, they oversleep and miss the train with the rest of the group. Chung calls her multiple times, and Sue tells him she'll take the bus with Jia and meet them at the hotel, and they arrive late. At the same time, Chung waits for them at the station, joined by Korn, who seems to be developing feelings for Jia. When Sue arrives at the hotel, she finds out she's sharing a room with a girl from another school named Ning. Ning asks Sue about Chung, revealing that she knew him during middle school. Sue is surprised by how much Ning knows about Chung and starts feeling jealous. The next day after the competition, Chung and the rest of the group wait for Sue. Ning joins them and introduces herself to the rest of the group, offering to take them out, since she knows the area better. Ning walks alongside Chung most of the time, while Sue stays with Jia. Ning suggests they hike up a nearby mountain to enjoy the stunning view, but Sue declines, making an excuse about her leg hurting. To her surprise, Ching returns to her and tells her he didn't want to go up the mountain. He also mentions that the others will take a while and suggests they explore the area together. Chung takes her on a cable car ride, a walk along the beach, and a tour of the city, and they both enjoy their time together. Sue forgets all about her leg pain as they create memory, capturing moments on camera. At the end of the day, Sue shares her experience with Jia, who jokingly complains about their mountain hike while Sue had fun. Later, Sue steps out to get something, Chung standing with Ning outside the room. Embarrassed, she apologizes and tries to, but Chung stops her, explaining that he came to see her, not Ning. He gives her something to help her stay warm, since the hotel's heaters aren't working. That night, Ning talks with Sue, asking if there's anything between her and Chung. Ning tells Sue she knows she likes Chung, as it's written all over her face. Ning advises Sue not to give up because Chung clearly has feelings for her too. She also reveals that Chung is still wearing the medal that matches Sue's. The next day, Ning bids farewell to the group, hugging Sue and encouraging her to continue pursuing her love for Chang. It turns out Ning is a kind girl, and the initial assumptions about her were wrong. On the train, they continue discussing the supposed end of the world expected to happen as soon as the clock strikes 12, according to the news. They start recording videos of themselves, each sharing their thoughts. As the countdown to midnight begins, Chang shares his earphones with Sue and plays the song he's listening. When the clock strikes 12 and nothing happens, everyone celebrates joyfully. Meanwhile, Sue and Chang are in their own world, completely absorbed in the moment. Back at school, they notice that Feng has a hard time saying no and avoids confrontation, which leads people to take advantage of him. One day at his grandmother's shop, two young men cause trouble and Feng takes them aside. It turns out Feng used to be quite the troublemaker, and he teaches the men a lesson, recovering the money they took. Concerned for his safety, his friends rush to defend him, but find him pretending to be innocent. Later, they discover Feng's past. He used to fight daily, but when people began fearing him, and his grandmother had to beg to keep him from being expelled, he decided to change. When he shares this story with his friends, they joke, "So we never needed to worry about you after all." Later, the school break begins. Sue learns that Chang will spend the holiday with his family in another town, leaving her feeling down. She decides to stay in touch with him by phone so she doesn't feel distant. Chang assures her he'll reply every time she messages. Sue's family prepares for the holiday, and she joins in while keeping Chang updated on everything she does. Chang, on the other hand, spends most of his time studying at the library because his family doesn't allow him to do much else. He misses the holiday traditions, but Sue helps him feel included by sharing her experience. One evening, Sue learns that her family will celebrate at her grandmother's house. Initially, she's reluctant, but when she remembers her grandmother lives in the same town as Chang, she gets excited and starts packing 2 days early. She calls Chang to let him know she's coming. Meanwhile, Chang overhears his relatives praising his brother Luli for being smart, kind, and sociable, qualities Chang feels he lacks. This leaves him feeling down. When Sue arrives at her grandmother's house after the long trip, she's exhausted and changes into her pajamas to sleep. However, her mom sends her to the supermarket. There, she unexpectedly runs into Chang. He offers to walk her back, and Sue asks him to come with her to her grandmother's house. The neighbors gossip as they see them together and call Sue's mother to report it. Her mom gets furious, saying, "My daughter went to the supermarket and came back with a boy. Why? Did she win him with a bottle of oil?" Her father greets Chang at the door with a broom, but once they learn that Chang is from a well-known family and helped Sue with physics and math, they warmly invite him to dinner. By the end of the evening, Chang shares with Sue that he misses the warmth of family life because his own family only discusses studies and grades. Meanwhile, Korn spends the holiday alone because his parents, both doctors, are busy with their patient. Gia, feeling bad for him, invites him to join her family's celebration. After the holiday, everyone returns home. Gia's father insists she accompany him to thank the doctor treating her grandmother. She's surprised to see Korn standing there in formal attire. Realizing Korn is her classmate, her father invites him in. Gia struggles to hold back her laughter and secretly takes a picture of him. A few days later, Korn finds out that his parents will be traveling for a month due to work. Though he acts like it doesn't bother him, he's deeply upset and tells them to take care of themselves. When Feng can't reach him, he sends Gia instead, knowing she's closer to Korn. When Gia arrives, she finds him sick with a high fever and stays up all night taking care of him, placing cold compresses on his forehead. When Korn wakes up and sees her by his side, he feels comforted, happy that someone cares about him. Later, Feng visits Korn and insists he come stay with him and his grandmother until his parents return so he doesn't have to be alone. While staying there, Korn opens up to Gia about how he has always felt lonely because his parents are so busy. He got used to being alone at home. Gia reassures him that she's there for him. The next day, Chang sends a message to Sue, asking her to open the door. She finds a bag of medicine and vitamins left by him, as there's a flu going around. Later, Chang spends the day with Korn and Feng, and even stays over at their place. That evening, he calls Sue to check if she's taken the medicine, and watches from under her window to make sure she's gone to bed. His feelings are obvious, but he still can't bring himself to admit them. Back at school, Chang and Feng start noticing that Korn is always around Gia, finding excuses to spend time with her. One day, Gia mentions she's not joining the group because she needs to drop off a gift for Qian. Korn leaves the group and follows her, clearly upset about her feelings for Qian but saying nothing. While helping organize Qian's books, Gia accidentally discovers a travel application and realizes he's planning to leave. Distraught, she resolves to confess her feelings before it's too late. The next day, Gia writes Qian a letter and shows it to Sue at school. In a mix-up, she accidentally hands in her notebooks for review with the letter still inside. Tian finds it in Sue's notebook. Later, Sue retrieves the notebook and senses something is bothering him. Things take a turn when Tian sees Sue and Jia talking to someone from the school band and overhears that they plan to join the band to get closer to Tian. He assumes the letter was from Sue and starts treating her coldly. During gym class, Tian pushes Sue harder than usual until she's exhausted. On their way home, Sue confronts him about his behavior, saying he's been unfair to her. She mentions finding the letter in her notebook and clarifies it wasn't hers, offering to prove it by showing him her handwriting. "I'll forgive you," she says playfully, "but your punishment is to read my handwriting every day." Knowing Sue doesn't have feelings for Tian, and later spends the night rereading her handwriting with a smile. Jia finds out Tian is leaving and he gives her a ticket to his final piano performance at school, making her feel special until she learns he gave tickets to all his friends. Despite feeling naive, she's undeterred and excited for the event. She asks Korn to join her for shopping, where she picks out an outfit for the concert. On the day of the performance, Jia looks stunning. Korn realizes her feelings for Tian run deep. As he watches her, memories of their time together flood his mind, but he suppresses his emotion. After the concert, Korn encourages Jia to confess her feelings to Tian, urging her not to let the opportunity slip away. When Jia gives Tian the letter, she explains that she's not good at expressing herself verbally, so she wrote her feelings down. Tian thanks her, but tells her she reminds him of his younger sister and that he loves her like family. Hurt, but trying to save face, Jia takes the letter back, saying she needs to fix something before returning it. She walks off to be alone, but Korn finds her and comforts her with kind words. The next day, everyone goes to the airport to see Tian off. Jia gives him a star charm as a keepsake to remember her by. As they say their goodbyes, Korn tells Tian he knows he doesn't easily let go of things he loves, all while glancing at Jia. It becomes clear that Tian is aware of Korn's feelings for her. Later, exam results are released, and despite the tests being difficult, Chang's scores have significantly improved. The group plans a trip to celebrate, but Chang's mom refuses, saying his grades still aren't as good as his brother's, and insisting he use the break to study. Uncle Lin intervenes, convincing her the exams were challenging and that Chang did exceptionally well, ultimately persuading her to let him go. The group sets off on their trip, excited and happy. They record their memories on camera, playing games and having fun. However, things take a turn when Jia and Korn accidentally lose the group's money. The trip seems ruined until Sue suggests they work at the music festival to earn some cash. The group divides tasks. Jia and Korn distribute tickets, while Chang, Sue, and Feng move equipment. During the job, Sue is sent to the storage room where she gets lost in the dark hallways and hears strange noises. But it turns out to be a phone ringing. Chang, worried about her, finds her sitting on the floor and calms her down. After their work, they earn some money, but it's not enough to visit the amusement park. Instead, they decide to attend the music festival, using discounted tickets. That evening, Chang receives a call from his mom, who starts comparing his grades to his brother's again. Frustrated, he vents to Sue, saying his brother is better than him at everything. Sue reassures him, saying that even without knowing his brother, Chang is the most handsome in her eyes. "If your brother is 100% amazing, then you're 101% to me," she adds, leaving Chang overjoyed and feeling butterflies in his stomach. Meanwhile, Jia spends time playing games with Feng and Korn, who is extra gentle and sweet to her. During the fun, Korn gets a message from Tian, which Jia accidentally sees. The message mentions that Tian has met someone new and is interested in a girl there. Heartbroken, Jia shares this with Sue. Feng notices Jia's teary eyes and assumes she's crying, telling Korn about it. The next day, the group attends the music festival together, painting designs on their faces. Chang chooses the same design as Sue, and Korn picks one that matches Jia's. Feng, however, picks something entirely random. As the music starts, they dance, jump around, and thoroughly enjoy themselves. During the event, the singer announces a random audience member to join them on stage, and Chang is chosen. He sings a song with everyone cheering him on. Afterward, they head to the beach, playing games and watching the sunset. They truly enjoy their time together, but eventually, their vacation comes to an end. The new school year begins, and Feng transfers from his class to Sue and Jia's class. During the break, Chang and Korn visit him. Just as Feng is about to hug them, they ignore him and sit with Sue and Jia instead. Later, they open the gifts Feng sent them, but Jia doesn't find one for herself. The others tease her, saying Feng must have sent her a special gift separately. That night, Korn asks Feng about Jia's gift. Feng admits he didn't know what to get her, and suggests Korn pick something for her on his behalf. The next day, Korn buys a delicate watch for Jia. When he gives it to her, he doesn't get a chance to explain that it's from him. Jia assumes it's from Feng and is thrilled. The following day, Jia visits Feng to study together, She comments that their study session could use some snacks and goes to fetch some from his room. There, she sees a chat between Korn and Feng, revealing that Korn was the one who bought her the gift. At school, Sue and Chang study together as usual, helping each other improve. However, their classmate, Zenshin, who has a jealous streak, secretly takes a photo of them and sends it to the principal. The school has strict rules prohibiting boys and girls from sitting together to prevent distractions from studies. The principal summons them, but Chang defends Sue, explaining they were studying as instructed by their teachers, and their improved grades prove their sincerity, accusing her of jealousy and threatening her to stop causing trouble. Chang overhears this and warns Zenshin to stay away from Sue. The next day, Chang's mother visits the school after hearing about the incident from the principal. She scolds him, comparing him unfavorably to his younger brother, and reminding him that he will soon transfer to a school closer to their family home to prepare for university entrance exams. That evening, Uncle Lin convinces her to let Chang stay at his current school for now, as it's better for his university plans. Back at school, Chang struggles to tell Sue about his impending transfer. His nervousness makes him act awkwardly around her. Meanwhile, Sue overhears students gossiping about a boy working hard despite being constantly pursued and annoyed by a girl from class 9. She starts to feel self-conscious, wondering if she's causing Chang trouble. On their way home, Sue tries to lighten the mood with jokes, but Chang brushes her off, unable to bring himself to talk. Hurt, Sue apologizes. That night, she reflects on the rumors and Chang's behavior, concluding she might indeed be bothering him. She decides to avoid him. At school, Sue avoids sitting near Chang during lunch, doesn't speak to him during breaks, and even stops riding the bus with him. Korn later tells Jia and Feng that his mother mentioned Chang will be transferring schools. Jia realizes this must be why Sue has been upset. Assuming Chang told Sue because they're close, Jia tries to comfort Sue. It's then that Sue learns about Chang's transfer plans and assumes he told everyone except her. She becomes convinced that Chang is avoiding her because she's an annoyance. Sue waits for Chang outside his house and tells him she's been keeping her distant because she thought she was annoying him by being around him all the time. She says when she found out he told all their friends about his transfer, it made her feel unnecessary. Chang struggles to find the right words and apologizes. She goes home, crying, and removes anything that reminds her of him. The next day at school, she completely ignores him and avoids him. At the end of the day, Chang sees Sue walking with a guy, and Jia suggests he might be from the nearby school. Chang feels upset and jealous. He goes home, unable to focus on anything. Later, he runs into Sue and the guy at the supermarket, where they're joking around. Chang quickly approaches, trying to take her with him, but Sue refuses and says she didn't mean to get close to him. She leaves with the guy who is revealed to be her cousin from the nearby school. The guy, understanding that Sue likes Chang, tells her the feelings are mutual and that Chang was acting out of jealousy. The next day, Jia tells Chang that the guy is Sue's cousin, and he seems happy about it. At the end of the day, Chang apologizes to Sue, telling her he never found her annoying and that he loves having her around. He confesses he didn't tell their friends about his transfer because he wanted to tell her first, but it was difficult because she is the most important person. They make up, and Sue promises to stay in touch with. The next day at school, Chang is much happier, unlike before. Korn comments that Chang's mood keeps shifting between being sad and happy. At home, Chang finds out his younger brother Loli will stay with him for a few days because of exams at his own school. Due to constant comparisons with his brother, Chang has always kept his distance from him. The next day at school, Loli is known as a genius, and no one realizes he's Chang's brother. After the exam, Loli waits for Chang and tells him that their mother is waiting for them. Chang replies that she's waiting for Loli, as she's never waited for him before. Their friends overhear and learn that they're brothers. Sue remembers Chang telling her that his brother was better than him at everything. The next day, the school is buzzing about Loli being and how he's not like Chang. Sue reassures everyone that everyone is different, and Chang is also great. Later, Loli sees Chang with his friends, laughing and joking together, and it's the first time Chang has smiled in front of others. Chang tries to get closer to Loli, wanting to become friends, but Loli constantly pushes him away. After a while, Loli offers to play a video game with him. However, when Chang sees that Loli is upset, he agrees to play just one game. They begin to bond and laugh together. Suddenly, their parents enter without warning and scold Chang, accusing him of distracting Loli and playing with him. Loli finally defends Chang, telling their mother that he was the one who begged Chang to play with him. He also points out that their mother always criticizes Chang without even asking him first. At night, Loli sneaks out of the house and everyone goes out to search for him. Chang is worried about him. Sue manages to find him and sits with him, introducing herself. He tells her he recognizes her from seeing her with Chang. He thought Chang was always gloomy and that it was just his personality. But after seeing him with them, he realized the problem wasn't with Chang. It was with their parents. He says he loves his brother very much and misses the days when they were close and he cared for him, before their mother kept comparing them and pushing them apart. Sue tells him she spent a long time trying to get close to Chang to be his friend. After a while, Chang sees them and is finally reassured. Later that night, Sue tells Chang about Loli, and Chang becomes interested in him. He sleeps beside him that night. The next day, Loli forgets his exam ID, and when he finds it, he rushes to give it to him. Finally, the brothers grow closer. Afterward, Loli leaves but sends Sue a letter thanking her and telling her how his relationship with Chang has improved. He mentions that he often sees Chang holding the teddy bear with her voice recording and listening. Then, they all go to buy presents for Sue's birthday. Korn notices that Gia likes a bracelet, so he buys it for her. He replies, "Me? No, of course not. Why would I like you? Just because you're beautiful like the moon and your hair, your lashes, and your eyes are all amazing? Nah, I wouldn't like you." On Sue's birthday, instead of celebrating, she goes to help Mr. Lin, as he asked for her assistant. She gets late and tells them to celebrate another day. But on her way back, she finds them waiting for her with a cake, and they all celebrate together. Afterward, Chang gives her a camera as a gift, because he knows she loves photography. The next day, he asks her to join the same university he's going to. Sue promises she will try, and during this time, he's not allowed to use his phone. They continue to write letters to each other, sharing the details of their daily lives. They also discuss what major they want to pursue. Gia still isn't sure about her passion, but Cora helps her realize her strengths. Eventually, Gia figures out that she wants to study journalism. Meanwhile, Mr. Lin finds out Sue wants to join the same university as Chang. He tells her that only those with high grades in sports are accepted, and he suggests she apply to another university as a backup. Sue goes ahead and applies for the entrance exam. She passes and then stops by the school, where Chang immediately rushes to see her. They walk around the school as she tells him she applied to another university as a backup, but that doesn't mean she won't try to be at the same university as him. Afterward, everyone focuses on their studies, and Sue doesn't waste any time. Chang also concentrates on his studies, and the exam period passes. The day of graduation arrives, and everyone takes pictures together. However, Sue is missing Chang. Suddenly, she sees him in front of her. He comes to attend the graduation party with them, and they take pictures together. After graduation, Feng finds out that his grandmother is in the hospital undergoing surgery. He is the only one responsible for her, but his friends don't leave his side until she gets better and they receive confirmation that she's okay. Feng thanks them and tells them that, in that moment, he feels that he's matured. But no matter how mature a person is, they will always need their friends by their side. That night, Chang asks Sue to go out with him the next day. And of course, she agrees. She tells Gia about it and says she's decided to confess her feeling. She gets ready and meets him, planning a few little tricks with Gia to create the perfect atmosphere for her confession. However, everything she plans fails more than the last. Meanwhile, Chang meets Cora and Gia, and he wants to confess his feelings for Gia, but overhears her telling her friends that she doesn't want to get involved with any of her friends because their love might ruin their friendship. In the middle of a conversation with Sue, Chang suddenly says, "I like you," making her blush. They walk back, holding hands, and when Sue gets home, she can't believe what just happened. Chang, on the other hand, is happy and laughing. The next day, Sue passes her university entrance exam and enters the same university as Chang. They agree to meet the next day to watch the sunrise together. Sue continues to prepare herself and imagine what it would be like. She's surprised to find out that Korn is coming with them and that he's staying at Chang's place. Suddenly, Gia shows up and says she's there to rescue Sue from Korn, but they have a group outing, and when Gia sees Korn between Chang and Sue, she makes excuses to pull him away from them. Meanwhile, Korn tells Gia that he's going abroad to study medicine, and she's the first person to know. She's shocked, and it's clear she doesn't want him to leave. At that moment, Feng wakes up and sees Chang holding Sue, and their secret is exposed. They watch the sunrise together, and the next day, Korn leaves. Gia keeps reminiscing about all their memories together since the first day they met. Everyone moves on to their universities and new lives. Sue meets a guy and asks him about the girls' dorms. He seems to like her from the first glance and introduces himself as Linan. Sue then goes to Chang's window, calls him, and they go out to dinner together. They have a lovely time. The next day during military training, Sue gets sick, so the commander asks Linan to train her. After the training, Sue is exhausted, and Chang brings her all the things she loves to cheer her up. In the dormitory, the girls are fascinated by Chang's picture and bet Sue that she will make him fall in love with her. She agrees and pretends to be indifferent, still trying to make him fall for her until they all discover that they are already in a relationship. Later, Sue joins the media department where Linen is the head, and he tries to get closer to her to become friends, but she avoids him every time. One day, Sue asks Chang to attend a lecture in her place because she has a project and might be late. When the professor arrives and calls the roll, both Chang and Linen respond for her absence, so the professor realizes she's not there. Linen tells Sue that he tried to help her, not knowing she had asked someone else to attend for her. Later, Chang forgets his flash drive with Sue, so she brings it to him and tells him to watch the video on the side once the presentation is over. Unfortunately, the videos get mixed up, and a video of their memories together plays in front of all the students who keep teasing them. Sue is embarrassed, but Chang is thrilled. The next day, Sue has a meeting with the media department team, and she learns from her roommate that Linen, when he found out she had a cold, she also tells Sue that it seems like Linen is interested in her. During the meeting, Sue notices that Linen really cares for her, and when it ends, he offers to take her home. She tells him that her boyfriend will pick her up, and Chang arrives to take her. Chang is paired with a girl from his team named Cho, who was the one who originally chose him for the project. It's clear that she has feelings for him. He spends more time with her because of the project, but he can't wait to finish and go meet Sue. Sue is surprised to see that Cho has posted pictures of Chang on her account and is constantly liking them. Sue gets upset and decides to take matters into her own hands without confronting her directly. She goes to Cho and asks her to remove the photos, scolding her politely. Cho then goes to the meeting, crying and pretending to be innocent, but no one pays attention. When Chang leaves the meeting, he finds his friend waiting for him, and she tells him that Sue bullied Cho and forced her to delete the pictures. He responds by saying he wishes she'd deleted any photos that bothered his girlfriend. Afterward, Cho continues to cause trouble, so Sue resorts to using the typical girl tactics. She acts sweet and cute in front of her, eventually getting Cho to back down and leave. Chang is really happy with how things are going, and to stop the rumors, he posts a picture of Sue and announces that she's his girlfriend. Then, it's time for their break, and they prepare to return to their hometown. Sue tells Chang that she needs to tell her parents about their relationship. He says that he already knew Uncle Lin from before, and when her parents see them together, they are surprised but happy. They decide to invite him over to their house. The next day, she goes with him to meet his uncle, who thanks her for being able to change Chang and make him happy, and is no longer withdrawn. She then learns that Chang will spend the vacation at his uncle's place to be near her. They spend the whole vacation together. The years pass as they continue their studies, always encouraging each other to study hard. Despite being far from their friends, they still talk on video calls to feel like they're always together, just like in high school. Sue graduates and Korn is busy with his studies abroad. They miss many calls due to the time difference, but excel in their fields as they had agreed during high school. Eventually, their graduation day arrives and Chang attends with her, bringing her flowers. They live together in a small house to be close to their work. Sue works in translation, and Chang is an outstanding aeronautical engineer, and they always encourage each other in their careers. Chang prepares to return home after graduating, and finally they reunite, reminiscing about their high school days and spending time enjoying each other's company. Sue has to attend a project meeting in another city. At the hotel, she notices that the boss is being inappropriate. She tries to handle the situation without causing trouble when he crosses boundaries, and when he offers to feed her, she tells him she's not hungry, which makes him uncomfortable. He politely asks her to leave the meeting. Sue ends up sitting on the stairs, hungry, until her friend brings her food. Her friend tells her that the boss has drunk too much and advises her to take her clothes and leave, as the boss won't be forgiving if he sees her. Sue decides to leave in the middle of the night and waits at the station. She lies to him so he won't worry. She is surprised when he arrives in his car, saying that he could tell from her voice that something was wrong, and he hugs her. Meanwhile, Korn tries to get closer to Gia by inviting her to dinner, but she refuses because she has an appointment. He decides to go with her so he doesn't eat alone. By coincidence, Gia is at the same restaurant. When Korn sees her with a man, he gets angry and jealous. Chang then asks him why he hasn't confessed his feelings yet, and Korn is surprised to learn that Chang has known about his feelings for Gia for a long time. He tells him that he's afraid her feelings might not be mutual, and that he could lose her because she will likely avoid him, even if just as friends. But Fang and Chang encourage him to confess his feelings before he regrets it. He decides to go ahead. He attends a high school gathering when he finds out she will be there. At the event, he becomes upset when he sees her dancing with one of her classmates, so he steps aside and stays silent. Later, Her friend tells him that she confessed she loves him but is scared he doesn't feel the same. He rushes to find her and confesses his feeling, giving her the letter he had prepared. After that, they all go out and Korn is officially with Jia. Chang is with Sue, but poor Fang is left alone, walking around saying, "What a pity." Then Fang has an important project that he successfully completes. When asked about the reason behind his dedication to work, he talks about Sue in front of everyone, how her presence always made him feel like he could do anything, and how she never let him give up. Afterward, he takes Sue to their new home, the one he bought. There, he shows her videos of all the memories they shared over the years, from the moment he first fell in love with her until now. Sweetly proposes to her, and of course, they have a wedding, inviting everyone close to them. They are happy, dance, celebrating while remembering all the beautiful moments they shared together. Chang is surprised when Sue tells him she's pregnant, and he becomes the happiest person. Years later, Chang and Sue decide to wear their high school outfits and meet again at the school, recreating their first meet. They do this as if no time had passed, remembering everything they went through and how he fell in love with her at first sight. And with that, our series ends. See you in a new summary. Goodbye. Don't forget to subscribe for more. Check out more recaps you'll absolutely love right here.